Hi folks, this is CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar coming to you from a brand new expressway. That's right, this is the 165 kilometers long Yamuna Expressway, which connects Greater Noida to Agra. Now, the point of course here is that it cuts down travel time to Agra, and it's a nice broad 6-lane highway. It is meant to be completely uninterrupted, and of course it's India's first elevated highway as well, which means that well, the developers have said that there should be no stray cattle or any other kind of disturbances coming out onto this road, which is different to other highways in India, isn't it? That is the claim we are going to be testing today, and so I intend to actually make the journey all the way across from Greater Noida to Agra. We're already on the road. We have exclusive access before the road actually opened to traffic. But while we do that, remember that we also have plenty more to take you through. So about 100 kilometers to Mathura from here, and 60 odd kilometers still to go to Agra. All through the show you will be seeing that journey, but let's also talk about some new cars that are coming our way. Now, I was in Bangalore just before I came here, and the idea was to of course take a look at the new 7th generation Toyota Camry. So while I get going, you have a look at the new Camry. The Camry is Toyota's second highest selling model worldwide after the Corolla. It sells in 110 countries. We first saw this car at the Auto Expo, and now it's here, ready for launch. The 7th generation of the Toyota Camry. What's different this time from Toyota is the global strategy for this new 7th generation. The Camry will be more utilitarian, compact and sporty for the US, with fully spec'd and basic variants. But Asia now gets only a swanky, large, luxury saloon, essentially the car that you see here with me. My first impression when I saw this car at the Auto Expo was, hang on a second, every new generation is supposed to get sportier and sexier than the previous car. So what has Toyota gone and done with this one? Also because I thought that the previous generation, the 6th gen, was actually really aggressive and sporty and sexy looking. It's only now that I've spent a little bit of time here that I have started to change my opinion a little bit, and I think that it's actually a very smart thing that Toyota has done. What they've tried to do is to go for a sedan that gives you instantly a sense of being a little ostentatious and luxurious, and definitely spacious as well. And then if you look closely, you do see that there are certain lines, the little plateau that rises out of the hood, the sharp, smart lines around the side, especially the way the bumper and the fender have been flattened to enhance aerodynamics as well. Very smartly done. Now, the chrome that you see surrounding the fog light, that is part of standard equipment, but there are certain personalization options, customization if you want to call it that are being provided for the first time on the Camry as well. And so what you see here is a lot of chrome up front, which brings about that whole ostentatious look. But this little chrome garnish here and a few other elements that I'll talk you through, those are optional, while the rest of what you see, it's also a very aerodynamic and sporty bumper. So some of those bits are, I think, what work for the Camry, because they make it look contemporary, even though the overall design and shape is one that throws back a little bit to the 90s. You also see these side visors here, not part of standard equipment, and of course a nice, fairly smart yet conservative alloy pattern. Coming on to the back, now the back of the Camry is always something that looked really heavy in the past, most of the previous generations, but in this one, even though it is a nice heavy sort of a rear, it doesn't give you that impression straight off. The tail light cluster, I think, is working really well here in terms of the white car, but otherwise, you know what, it's got a certain kind of a look which makes it look like it's been sort of slapped on, something that may not work for too many people. Again, you see the extra chrome that's been thrown in here, also here on the bumper. That's part of that whole optional package. And finally, rounding things off, you also have an optional camera for reversing that can be added on. That is not part of standard equipment. They're calling it the new era sedan, where era breaks up to emotional appeal and rational basics. So the car is tailored to meet the needs of the buyer in this segment and nothing else. Under the hood is this generous 2.5-litre VVTi motor, which is marginally bigger in displacement from the outgoing Camry's 2.4-litre. The auto transmission also adds a gear compared to the last Camry's 5-speed. It's quite evident that with this new generation, Toyota is really focusing on comfort and luxury. And you know what? Even with the drive and the ride feel, that's exactly what you're getting. You're going to see that people will like the ride comfort, passenger comfort, especially the way the car just glides over the roads, good suspension settings for India. I think that is something people will appreciate. Now, when it comes to performance and handling though, that's where things get a little bit soft because it's not exhilarating. However, the 2.5-litre engine is adequate. The new gearbox though is a definite improvement. The 6-speed, definite improvement over the old one. It's more responsive, it's mated better to the engine, and so it does sort of seem smoother in its performance too. But yeah, I think that's going to be the little bit of a downside, that for anybody who wants a little bit of extra punch, perhaps then this is not the car for them. However, in terms of space, comfort, ride comfort, you're going to get it all. Handling could have been a little bit more precise too, I think. Okay, so maybe now I'm just being a little harsh. This is just a first impression, remember? And to be fair, I haven't had the chance to get this baby out on the highway either. I'll tell you this though, the new engine is very refined, as is the gearbox. And even though handling is a bit soft, the car has good onboard features like ABS and EBD to keep things in check. Oh, and I have to say this though, everything the Toyota engineers have done to increase cabin quietness has worked. It's remarkably low on NVH. Impressive. That only adds to the comfort factor that I've been going on about. Hang on, I'm going to go on about it some more now. The interiors of the new Camry are cavernous. That's intentional from Toyota. They've increased not just legroom but also headroom, and you really get a sense of a lot of space. The seat, really comfortable at the back too, nice seat angle, pretty good and plump as well in terms of the seat bottom. Big armrest that pops down as well. You got AC vents, and the overall trim and feel is a very comfortable one. And I have to say that that's something that will appeal to a lot of Indian buyers. There are seat adjustment buttons provided on the side of the front passenger seat, so if you're in the back, you can now make more room for yourself without disturbing the driver or having to get out and adjust that front seat. Nice. The sense you get from all this is similar to what I said when I first drove the Škoda Superb. Great quality materials, decent power, fantastic comfort levels, and so what is meant to be a C-class competitor looks more of an E-class rival. In fact, it is a little sad really that in India we club the Superb, Sonata, Camry of course, Accord, Passat and Tiana with the BMW 3 Series, Audi A4 and Mercedes-Benz C-Class. The Germans are definitely more compact, sporty and performance oriented, while the aforementioned cars are all about space, luxury and a little pampering. Throw in the gadgets that the newer cars like that Camry now have, which includes Bluetooth and iPod connectivity, and you can see that the Camry has really got it down now. The launch is on the 24th of August and I expect premium pricing for the single variant to stay around 22 to 24 lakh rupees. More variants would follow, but only in 2013. So that's the all-new Camry. React to it. Now, of course, we're showing you more of the Yamuna Expressway here. I'm sitting actually at the toll booths, the very first toll booth, in fact, at the Javar Toll Plaza. And what you're seeing there, by the way, is a very narrow little lane. Well, that's because it's only for two-wheelers. It's a dedicated two-wheeler lane here. And I'm very encouraged by that. You have different lanes for trucks, cars and two-wheelers. I am hoping that people actually behave themselves and they're a little bit more disciplined here at the toll booth. You've got several toll lanes, so should not be a traffic issue, really. The toll tariffs, well, I'll stick to the categories that matter to you. Two-wheelers, 50 rupees, 100 rupees and 150 rupees depending on where you're going. And of course, similarly for cars, it's a little bit higher. It's 100 rupees, 220 rupees and then 320 rupees if you're going all the way from Delhi to Agra. Now, those are the new tariffs, but the reason everybody's going on about this road is not really just the fact that it's yet another new expressway that's opening, but the fact that it's been a bit controversial, perhaps politically tinged. The reason we're excited about it and we're talking about it is because it's India's first elevated expressway. What that means is that it sits a little bit higher than the ground about this region, and that helps because it means, hopefully again, that you won't have stray cattle, tractors, things like that coming onto the road. It's also been in fact fenced in, and you've got guardrails and a big fence all along the road. So I hope that maintains itself all the way to Agra. We're going to find out if the road is smooth as well. And the good news for a lot of you is that up to the 15th of August, there will be no toll charge. So if you want to come check out the road, you can do that for free up to the 15th of August. Just an inaugural offer, if you want to call it that, or a patriotic one. On that note, we're going to slip into a very short break here on CNB. The drive is still ahead of me, and there's still plenty more too on the program. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to CNB, folks. We are checking out the brand new Yamuna Expressway, which takes you much faster now from Delhi to Agra and back. And that's exactly what we're doing actually. All along the way we sort of stopped at a few locations to show you the road. And so what I've decided to do is to actually sort of test the claim to figure out just how much time it really saves between these two cities. So we've gone all the way to Agra, we've turned around, and now I have the S60 on cruise control at 100 kilometers per hour, which is the speed limit. So I'm behaving myself, not going even 1 kilometer over that. And well, let's see how long it takes us. So while we're carrying on our way back to Delhi, why don't you also take a look at yet another new car? You saw the Camry in the first segment. Now the other Japanese, the Nissan Evalia. Again, a vehicle that you saw at the Auto Expo. And my colleague Bala was there at the drive in Bangalore.
The staunch rivals are at it again, striking where its fellow Japanese adversary has its bread and butter model. Nissan is launching the Innova killer, the Evalia. This 7-seater has been developed for the Indian market as a part of Nissan's joint venture with Ashok Leyland. And like we showed you at the Auto Expo, the Indian partner will also have a slightly different spec version called Style. We are driving the new Evalia from Bangalore to Nandi Hills. So through some crazy traffic and onto a rather scenic drive. Nissan is calling this an urban class utility vehicle targeted at both large families and taxi fleet owners as well. Yes, you can say it, just like the Innova. And of course the Mahindra Xylo and the newly launched, yet more compact Maruti Suzuki Ertiga at the lower end.
Well, the Nissan Evalia comes in 4 variants, with the top end boasting of features like electronically controllable mirrors, ABS, dual airbags, as well as reverse parking cameras. Now we're driving the top end here all the way to Nandi Hills. But here's something that will interest all of you, is that the Nissan Evalia actually operates as a taxi called the NV200s in many of the geographies that Nissan operates out of, essentially in Tokyo as well as New York, and has recently also been selected as the famous London black taxi cab.
So it's a popular platform for Nissan, alright. In India, the Evalia powers its way in with an efficient K9K diesel engine that is also used in the diesel Micra and Sunny, and yes, finds its roots in the Renault. So it's kind of the same engine as the Duster, but the lower spec 83 bhp version. The engine is a little noisy for our liking, even with the windows rolled up. Acceleration is fairly smooth, especially on the highway. And what was heartening was to see that even when we entered the hilly area, the gear shifts were fairly smooth. Despite surprisingly small 14-inch wheels, the Evalia feels sturdy even at high speeds. It also brakes well and takes turns quite smoothly. The front-wheel drive with the Evalia makes steering easy, especially as we climb higher and higher around the hairpin bends at Nandi Hills.
Importantly, the turning radius that Nissan has proudly talked about with the Evalia of 5.2 meters is fairly effective. That will get you ahead in city traffic as well as on sharp turns like the one just ahead.
It is a monocoque structure which makes handling more car-like, and it's also lighter construction than conventional vans, meaning the promise of pretty good fuel efficiency. Nissan claims that to be 19.3 kilometers per litre, way higher than the competition.
The Evalia is really not a bad-looking car compared to the Xylo or the Innova, but clearly won't set your pulse racing in the looks department. But this segment of users essentially don't mind the boxy kind of styling to the car as long as the overall package is fine. Take a look at the front side. The grilling is fairly smooth and nice. Headlamps coming in well into the fender. Also the bold lines across it give it a lot more character. The big rear view mirrors on the driver's side also is a huge advantage. But as we come to the middle of the car, clearly there is a lot of disappointment here, especially with these small windows. Clearly people sitting inside will find it a little more disappointing and claustrophobic sitting inside, given that these windows really shrink in size compared to the driver's side window. Also the sliding doors, I think, is a huge advantage, especially in city conditions. A lot of people find it practical to use these doors in city conditions. As we move towards the back, it kind of has a flat finish at the back, just sharply curving down, fairly standard tail lamps that they have. But the big advantage is the height that the back offers, especially when you're loading and unloading big cargo, big suitcases. Essentially, given that it's going to be a utility vehicle, a lot of loading and unloading is going to happen. So the height is going to be a huge advantage.
The dashboard comes with a lot of plastic controls that look basic and standard and frankly not too contemporary. The gear stick is nicely located, kinda coming on out of the dash. Not too far from the driver, and that also frees up some leg space. The glove box is more of a shelf really, strangely open without a cover. So a bumpy road or a sharp turn could see items falling out of it. All the variants get an integrated music system, with the mid and top variant getting 4 speakers. The driver's seating position is comfortable with a good view of the road and has an adjustable steering wheel. The driver is also aided by a multi-information display which shows useful info like real-time fuel efficiency, gear shift up indicator and cruising range.
So we're now here in the second row of the Evalia, and this is where the space USP that Nissan has been trumpeting so much about really kicks in. Fairly decent legroom here at the back seat, also more than sufficient headroom here. Also the under-thigh support, importantly, very, very good. Clearly on the long drive, this will be very helpful. But here's the downside. Passengers in the second row will feel claustrophobic for sure, given these are not windows, they're really vents which don't open up too much. So essentially this is targeting at a segment of users mostly with the air conditioning on, given that these small windows really don't add to any appeal and will make the passengers in the second row as well as in the third row feel more claustrophobic. Let's just go find out how it is in the third row and how the ventilation overall is sitting in the third row itself. So we're now sitting in the third row of the Evalia, and clearly the legroom here has shrunk quite considerably compared to the second row. My legs just about fit in here, and something that the passengers in the third row clearly won't like. But the ride itself has been fairly smooth. We were sitting on the third row, coming up all the way to Nandi Hills, fairly smooth, not less bumpy, even sitting in the third row itself. Passengers also will like the vents that are positioned here on the right side of the third row, also adjustable small utilities, plastic cup holder, which will add to the overall value of the car itself for passengers sitting in the third row at least. But these vents are essentially located only on the right-hand side, so the passenger sitting on the left side will have reason to complain.
But no such problems to space when you fold the seats, and then the Evalia really scores. The flexible folding options of the seats are a huge plus, and even with all seats in place, there is still some luggage space. Now Nissan is keeping the pricing of the Evalia under wraps, but expectations are that this will be priced between 8 and 10 lakh rupees. Despite the issues like the small rear windows and a cramped third row, overall the Evalia looks like a fairly good buy for this segment's users. Good handling, lightweight and efficient. And let's not forget the novelty factor of something new. That's what the Evalia has got going for itself. Now let's just hope Nissan gets the pricing spot on too.
Alright, so 165 kilometers and 1 hour and 27 minutes is exactly what it's taken us. Now, of course, that's because I drove at the speed limit and didn't go a kilometer faster. And so I'm guessing that some people will probably do it in a little less time. What's encouraging, though, is the quality of the road. It is concrete, so you don't get the smoothest ride quality. It's a little bit uneven in parts. But you know what? I think it's a good trade-off or a compromise, because while you don't get that tarmac-like silk quality to the road, this will be a little bit easier to maintain. And so for the long run, I think this is perhaps better. So it's good to see a world-class road here in India. It is also fenced in, and barring a few stray dogs, we didn't see any cattle coming in, and no tractors coming at you the wrong way either, like you do see on some other highways. And so that's all a little encouraging. Today, just the first day of this highway being open, so some people did come out and join us, and we did see a few regular folks on the road as well. But it will pick up, I'm guessing, in the next few days. And even with a lot of traffic, I think there is potential here to still make it a lot quicker than the old highway from Agra to Delhi, which means that unlike, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, you could still do it in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and save yourself a lot of stress and a lot of time. React to what you've seen today on the program, folks, and also those 2 new vehicles. And on that note, I am going to say goodbye. Remember, please wear your seatbelts, wear your helmets, and please don't use your cell phone if you're driving or riding. Bye-bye.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.